Welcome to the only course you need for you to master web and mobile design. Whether you're a complete beginner looking to become a designer and freelance, or you're a designer who's looking to charge more for their work, or you're a developer who's looking to improve their design skills, this brand new course will take you from the very basics, where we talk about principles and fundamentals of graphic design, all the way to creating beautiful products, learning about UX, UI, and interactions, and creating a full design process for you to use with all your future projects and clients. We pretty much cover it all so that the next time you're in charge of designing a product, you have the step-by-step outline and guide to work as a professional designer. We are going to teach you the skills that will allow you to charge a lot of money for your time, not to compete for a few dollars an hour on some random freelancing website. The goal is to give you the skills of a top designer. Along the way, we're going to design an actual product from start to finish for a company, and you'll be able to add this to your portfolio. We are going to learn all the modern tools and software used by top companies today, like Figma, and we even include over 100 assets and premium design templates that you can keep and use to customize for all your future projects. We'll even show you how to build websites and put your portfolio online. But here's the thing, when learning a skill like design, you want to be taught by someone who actually works in the industry and has dedicated their lives to this field, not just another freelancer with a few projects. Well, meet Daniel. He is a top designer with over 10 years of experience, and he has worked as a lead designer for numerous companies and products. And some of these companies even had valuations of up to $1 billion. Let's just say he knows his stuff. Me? I'm Andre. I've worked on enterprise-level apps for large tech firms, both in Silicon Valley and Toronto, and have also taught others tech skills that got them into companies like Google and Amazon. We will each bring our expertise to this course so you can have a complete set of skills. Now, design is a valuable skill that doesn't get outdated easily like most technical skills out there. Trends change, but the skills and fundamentals you learn in this course will take you many years into the future. Skills that you can use to work remotely and to work with anyone in the world, because everyone needs a designer. Design is a skill that can be learned just like any skill. You don't have to be artsy or good at drawings. No, we all start from zero, but we will take you to mastery. We guarantee you this is the most comprehensive online course on design skills. So have a look at the course outline in the next video to see if this course is right for you. We'll see you inside. Hello! We're super excited to start the course with you, but as always, before we do, we need to see where we're starting and where we're ending up so we have a clear path to becoming a top designer. So let's see what this course will look like for you. The first step is always meeting the client. This is the first step in any design project, any project you may have. And we're going to start off with a fictional company that hires you and they want to create a product that rivals Amazon. In this entire course, we're going to build this product from start to finish and give for you an exact step-by-step process that you can use for all your future projects. This is a process that Daniel, who has worked as a lead designer for multiple companies, uses all the time. Now, this section also introduces you to some of the tools we're going to use in the course, how to get the best out of the course, but we're also not going to spend too much time because I know you want to get started and start designing. We're going to revisit this idea of meeting a client later on towards the end of the course so that you can learn about things like user stories, using Trello, using story mapping in Figma. But we want us to get started. So right away, we're going to start designing this product that this fictional company, Keiko Corp, wants to build. We're going to learn about sketching, about inspiration, about user flows and sitemaps. This is the first stage where we try to draw inspiration from different sources and start to brainstorm ideas for the product we're going to build. This is a very critical process, and we're going to take you step by step. Then we get into even more exciting things. This is the explore and iterate phase. This is where we talk about wireframes, prototyping, and getting feedback. We're going to start using Figma, which is a wonderful tool that more and more people are using now. Because things like Photoshop are kind of outdated when it comes to design and most people don't use it. We want to use a modern tool like Figma that you're going to see allows us to do everything we want. And also makes our handoff later on when we finish the project super easy. You're going to love Figma. And the next step is the really fun part. It's the visual design. This is where we talk about design theory, accessibility, things like typography, grid and spacing, forms and UI elements, color theory, image and iconography, and obviously, as I mentioned, accessibility, which is becoming more and more important. And it's a must for all designers moving forward. This is what most of you associate design with. This idea of making things beautiful, adding color, deciding what looks good. But as you can see, there's lots of steps before we get to this visual design because you need to have a plan before you start just making things pretty. Now, this section is going to be very big, and we're going to learn a lot of interesting best practices and also step-by-step guide for you to implement these things in all your designs. Now that our product is starting to take shape, we then get into design exploration. This is where we talk about design patterns, mobile design, applying visual design and motion, and also micro interactions. This is where we make everything look really modern. Again, talk about best practices, about the importance of motion and animations, how we can make the user interact with our product in a way that is exciting to them, that creates good user experience. Lots to cover in this section. We then get to putting it all together. Everything we've built up until this point allows us to get to this point, which is building a design system and the final composition. Putting everything together to create the final high-fidelity design assets that you can present to your client. Trust me, getting to this point is totally worth it. By the end of it all, you're gonna have tons of assets and design templates that you can use on all your future projects, and best of all, the product that we're gonna build together, you can now put on your portfolio. So that next time you're on some freelancing website or you're applying for a contract, well, they're gonna see this and they're gonna be impressed by your work. But not only that, you now have the step-by-step process that you can use for all your future projects to make sure that you follow the best practices. This is where we go back to the idea of meeting the client. We want to revisit this and make sure that we understand what happens when we get our clients or we are looking for clients. What are the best practices? What are the questions that we ask to try to understand what their needs are? Because at the end of the day, design is all about understanding what the client and the user needs and creating a product around that need and want. Finally, to complete the course, we are going to talk about this idea of creating a web portfolio for you to be discovered by others, for you to get clients, and who knows, maybe even work remotely. We want to show you some of the best practices when it comes to showcasing your work. And then finally, just as a bonus bit, because we're going to be talking about how to hand off your work to developers. Once we're done with the design process, we usually hand off our work to developers that can program and perhaps put the website online or the mobile app in the app stores. Now, HTML and CSS is not necessary for you to be a top designer, but it doesn't hurt to know how websites are built, how to put a website online, and learn how you might become a full-fledged designer that can use HTML and CSS to wow the clients. So as you can see, we have a lot to cover, but it's going to be really fun. We're going to build something really beautiful that I think you're going to be proud of at the end of it all. We're going to take you from zero to mastery. But here's the thing. The best part of this course is our online private community of over 300,000 students. We have on here people chatting every day, helping each other out, solving problems together, showcasing their work, or just talking about the latest and greatest in the tech industry. This is an optional resource for you to use so that you can have back and forth conversation with other students and myself and Daniel so that you feel like you're part of a classroom. I'm on there chatting every day, and we also have monthly challenges for you to do to supplement the course. But you know what? That's enough talking for me. I know you want to get started, so let's learn how to design beautiful products. Guess what? You have just found your first client. And this guy, his name is Bruno. He has a huge idea. They're going to create a new product to take on Amazon. You see, shopping on Amazon isn't the best. I mean, sure, you can find lots of stuff, but the whole experience design, there's room for improvement. And Bruno, that works at Keiko Corp, one of the fastest growing tech companies in the world, well, he wants to take on Amazon and build their own shopping experience. And they found you as a designer to lead the charge, to design their product, their mobile and web presence to take on Amazon. Now, this is the first part of any design project that you may have. It's this idea of meeting the client. You meet someone that needs your expertise, but you're taking this course because you're starting from scratch or you already have some knowledge and you want to improve upon it. Now, because everyone has different skill levels with this course, we're going to assume you have already met the client and you're starting to work right away, just like we have with Bruno. At the end of the course, we have some extra bits for you to show you how you may find and get your first clients, but we also want to start with the actual practical designer things to get started on the course because I know you're getting excited to learn. So the first step that we're going to take is to learn the skills and have that dream portfolio by the end of this course. So we're going to start designing the product that Bruno wants and eventually have a finished design system and portfolio so that when we come back to this idea of meeting a client, you already have the portfolio and the skill set needed to start looking for your first clients, whether it's on a freelance website or just an existing client. Hooray! But here's a quick thing to get you started when meeting a client. The whole thing is about solving their problems. When you meet a client, can you solve their problems? Are you the person that can take what they say and wow them? Are you the expert that they have been looking for all along? You see, people want somebody that makes their life easier, not harder. By the way, you might be wondering something. Why are we saying product designer here? Isn't this a web and mobile designer course? Well, yeah, it is. But the idea of design and designing, as we're going to find out throughout the course, isn't necessarily just about the web or just about mobile. Our technology is constantly evolving. There's new platforms coming out all the time. And a designer should be flexible. Sure, we can just learn web development, but then what happens if we want to build a mobile app or a VR app or any sort of product that can be on any platform? So we want to describe this course as a product designer because you can design on any platform for any product. So although we might use web design, mobile design, product design as a term, in the end, we want to build the skill set so that you can design for any platform that are out there right now and also future platforms. So our job as designers is to understand the need of the client and create designs that they themselves aren't able to do. Now, Bruno wants to build this massive shopping experience online that can take on Amazon. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's dive in and let's start exploring the world of design, the processes, and how we might go about designing a beautiful product. Welcome back. Now, this course has two paths for you to take, depending on your situation. So what are these two paths? Well, one is to just follow along. We're going to show you step by step how to go from start to finish, from sketching to having ideas to final full-fledged interactions, animations, and final designs for the product. If you want, you can follow along, customize however you want, so that by the end, you have an entire design system that you can use on future projects, as well as a product that you can put on your portfolio and wow your employers. The other path that you can take with this course is that you already have a client, or you have a product that you want to create. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. The way this course is structured is that we show you the exact steps a designer would take from the very beginning to the end. So by following along the step, you can actually implement your own design systems, your own designs, your own product, if you already have something. We wanted to create this course so that in the future, when you get different clients, you can keep coming back to these sections and follow the steps all along so that you have a professional, full-fledged system that takes you from zero all the way to mastery, to wowing your clients. So decide on these two paths, whether you want to just follow along and customize the product that we're going to build, or you already have something that you wanted to work on and follow along the steps and create your own product. I'm excited to see what you end up with at the end of the course. Let's get started. Let's talk about the differences between a designer and a developer. Now, you may know this already, but if you're just starting out, these terms are often confusing, and most people can't decide whether they want to be a designer or a developer. So let's have a look at these two fields and see what their differences are and also where they overlap, because there is a lot of crossover. But the main difference is that a designer is focused on the aesthetics, the experience of the user, versus a developer is focused more on the internals and the things that make a product work. But let's get a little bit deeper into that. You see, the first phase of building any product is the planning phase. This planning phase is probably the most important. This is where we decide and map the entire project. How should the product look? How should it feel? What should it do? This is also the part where you're usually interacting with the client and deciding what their goals are, what the user's goals are, and planning out the project so that you have defined goals that you want to achieve with your product. From the planning phase, we go into the design phase. And the design phase is all about using all the information in the planning phase and making it into reality. Usually you'd create something like site structure or mobile structure. You'll have visual representation. How will the product look? What would the users see? By the end of the design phase, you usually know what the product should look like, what the product should do. From there, we get into the development phase. The development phase is where we do the programming work. We usually take all the assets and information that we've gathered from the previous stage, that is the design phase, and we try to implement it on a live website or a live mobile app. You might use things like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to make the designs come alive so that they're online. They're on your phone. Once you've built the product, you've developed the product, then we get into the exciting phase of the launch phase. This is where we deliver our product to the users, to the public. Usually there's some polishing that we need to do, maybe some design tweaks, maybe some testing of our site to make sure that it works properly. But this is the critical part. Once we launch our product, it doesn't end there. The next step is the post-launch. This is usually where we hand off the product to a client, but we also monitor how the launch goes. How do the users use the product? Are there any issues? Because most of the time when you create something, it's not 100% right from the beginning. So instead, you learn from your first version that you launched, and then you iterate. That is, you improve upon it. You maybe do user testing and understand why users aren't clicking on this button, or maybe users are confused how your product works. And this turns into a loop because from the insights that you get after the launch, you can now start improving your product. You can start planning again, designing again, developing again, and launching again so that you get better and better insights. You improve the product over and over. And this whole process continues. You can never really finish a product because a product can always be improved. But we're talking about designers and developers here. So where do they come in? Well, a simplified version of this is that a designer is in charge of this part. They're heavily involved with the planning phase of working with the client and deciding what the goals are. What do we want the users to do? They're obviously heavily involved in the designs. They need to design the product so it looks nice, it looks friendly, it looks usable. It meets the client and user expectations. But they're also involved in doing things like user testing, learning from the users and improving their designs from what they learn. The developers are mainly focused with this part. They are usually the ones that receive the designs and start using things like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to implement those designs into an actual working website or a mobile app. They also might help with the launch by putting the code that they've created on a server, monitoring and launching the product. But they're also going to encounter bugs in their code. Maybe they've programmed something that isn't efficient or is incorrect and it creates bugs. Well, they have to fix those as well. So they're also involved in the post-launch process. So remember what I said at the beginning. Design is all about these aesthetics. You don't necessarily need to code because you're involved more at the beginning stages and later stages of the product development phase. But it doesn't hurt to know how developers use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to create websites, which is why we've included those sections later on in the course, so that you also understand how you might want to do this yourself. But as a developer, you also might want to learn how to design, how to plan things, because then you're able to understand the whole product better. So these borders, although might look rigid right now, can overflow into each other. But if you wanted just a guideline, this is it. To be a great designer, you need to focus on these three things. Sure, HTML and CSS and some programming will help you. You know, we've added a couple of extra videos in there for you to still see the whole picture. All right, this video is getting long, so let's take a break and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey everyone, this is the Figma website. I want everyone to understand what Figma actually is. So Figma is free. There are some paid plans and I'll get into that, but Figma is free. It allows you to create amazing UIs, allows you to collaborate with your team really easily, and allows you to prototype and get feedback. And it's an easy handoff for developers. Let's jump right in so I can show you. So this is their website. Now, some of you may be using the web browser to log in, and you're going to sign up here and log in here. But, if you're really interested in using something like FigJam, which is one of the other Figma products, you can use FigJam here as well. It'll allow you to easily brainstorm. It's a really great tool. But one of the great things about Figma is the ability to just bring your ideas to life. Whether that's just creating, iterating, and repeating that whole process, Figma allows you to create some really beautiful designs. I think one of the other great things is the collaboration aspect. As you can see just in this little illustration over here, you have two people working together. You can see comments. It's great for getting feedback. If you're a design system nerd like myself, I know this may not make sense to some of you, but design systems are really powerful. They allow you to create components. They allow you to, use those components everywhere. And There are some different distinctions between how you can use components within Figma, and I'll get into that. But components are really powerful. It really is great to work with developers on how to use these components, what they look like, what their different states are. It's really great. And the last part is developers can easily come in here and understand what exactly makes up one of your designs, whether it's like a UI element that they're clicking on. They want to know maybe position. They want to know like if there's like a border radius. They can get all this CSS from Figma as well. So Figma is a great tool that will allow you to work with your entire team, whether it's strategy, design, and even development. Another great thing about Figma is that they have a bunch of resources. I'm going to get into what is the community, but you can get files and templates, plugins and widgets. It's amazing. It'll really help speed up your workflow and share some of your designs even with the community. It's a really great place. Hey everyone, we're going to talk about pricing and just the plans in general that Figma offers. Now, Figma offers 3 different plans. Most of you are going to be totally fine in the free starter plan. Now, there are some limitations. Some of those limitations are that you can only use one project with 3 files. That's a bit limited, but some of you may not mind. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would just try Figma out and then maybe move to professional if you want something that's a bit more expansive. Now, some of the things that you can do in the professional account is that you can use these components I was talking about earlier and use them across a bunch of different files. Now, if you do create components and you like using design systems or design libraries, you won't be able to use them outside of their local files if you're in a starter plan, which is limiting to some. Some won't care as much because they may not be using components a lot. But if you plan to, then the Figma Professional plan is going to be the plan for you. That is one of the biggest differences that I personally noticed from one plan to the other. So I would recommend start off with the free account, go from there. If you do like it, the professional account is way worth it. If you need the projects, if you need those files, if you need to be able to use design libraries across multiple projects and files. So just a heads up, that is the biggest difference. Now, one of the other things is you can come over here into the website where I'm currently at, and you can just see and compare them really easily. So I'm going to post this link as a resource for everyone who's interested. It's super, super helpful if you're looking to distinguish, line item by line item, what the differences are. When you do want to sign up, you're going to be able to come in here and just click sign up. You can use like a Google password or a Google account and do it like that. You can actually just sign up with your email, but you're going to sign up right through here, and it's going to ask you a bunch of questions about which plan you want to be a part of, etc. And you'll be pushed right into the actual website. Hey everyone, I want to talk about where you can get the Figma downloads. So I know many of you may have signed up already. Some of you haven't. That's totally fine. So don't worry about that. Now you can sign up on the website and you can use the web browser as your way of using Figma. And that works perfectly fine because the actual desktop experience doesn't vary much. Some people just have a preference. I'm one of those people that use it both on my PC. I use it on my MacBook, and that's how I prefer to use Figma. I like that dedicated space without the noise of a browser, but if you want to use the browser, go right ahead. You don't need to really worry about the Figma download section here. Now you can access this on the website by just clicking on products, going down to downloads, and this is where it'll be. Now you can find the desktop app here for both Mac OS and Windows. You can also find the mobile app for Android and iOS. So the mobile app is really great if you're on the go, you want to take a look at design files, you want to answer some comments, you want to, take a look at a prototype. That's what the mobile app is really good at. If you want the desktop app for that, dedicated experience, this is where you're going to come. So I'll make these links easily available for everyone. Hey everyone, and welcome back. I wanted to go through the Figma UI and more specifically just the structure of the dashboard area over here. Now, where we currently are is where you're going to land when you first open Figma every single time. Now, you'll have a navigation bar up here. You can search, you can see your accounts that you have connected. You can connect more than one account, so it's really easy to switch. You can access the community as well. If you're working on multiple teams or if you shared a file that has comments on it, notifications will show up over here. If you want to access more things about your account, you can do that here. Even has a nice link to get the desktop app. You can add your account here if you have multiple accounts, like I mentioned before. You switch them on this side. So I do that really often. I have multiple accounts and I love switching between them, between my work and my personal. So that is the navigation bar. Then you have the sidebar. Now your sidebar is made up of a bunch of different things. You have your recents, where you're going to be accessing all the files that are available to you based off of what you recently opened. You have your drafts. Now these are where all your files are going to live. Now, if you don't have a professional plan, majority of your files are going to live right here, and that's fine. I would just name them properly and find a convention that works for you to create a little bit of structure. Because if you do have a professional plan, you'll have the ability to add a bunch of projects and a bunch of files within those projects. Unfortunately, that's a bit limiting right now to the starter plan. A great thing about Figma, and I'll get back to this file I just opened, is you can have favorite files. So if I go back to my recents up here, you'll see that I've starred a couple of files, now 3 files, and they'll all show up here. So if you're working on a file or there's a file that you constantly refer to, that's a great way to just find it in one spot. All this functionality is also within the desktop app. Now, these are the files, so you can click them like I did before and open up a new tab, or you can right click them and you can, see all the different options available to you. Whether you want to share it, you can copy a link, you can remove it from your favorites, you can duplicate it, etc. You can even start a new design file right from your drafts or your recents, or import a file, like some of the resources we have. So that is the easiest way to do that over here. And that is your Figma dashboard.